Welcome to Real Talk English. This is where we break down real, natural conversations to help you finally master English as it's actually spoken. So, have you ever felt totally lost when you're listening to native speakers talk really fast? Yeah? Well, you're in the right place. We're going to change that today. We're diving into this incredible conversation between host Mel Robbins and the author Diego Perez, who you might know as Young Pueblo. So, what's the plan? It's pretty simple, actually. We're going to pull out some amazing, everyday vocabulary from their chat about healing, inner peace, and relationships. All right, let's jump right in. First up, we're going to start with Diego's personal journey. He really opened up to Mel about a super difficult time in his past. And you know what? It's just packed with powerful language that we can all learn from. Okay, so Mel kicks things off by asking Diego about a really low point in his life. And he's about to describe what he calls his rock bottom moment, that time when things just got really, really bad. So, for about 3 years, right, from when he was 20 to 23, Diego was really struggling. He was using drugs and alcohol basically to avoid his own feelings. And then, bam, a health crisis hits him. It forces him to change. This was a huge turning point. And it led to this really powerful realization he shares in our first quote. Listen to how he puts this. He says he was addicted to filling a void. Now that phrase, it points to something way deeper than just a bad habit, right? It's about this huge emotional need. So what does that idiom, to fill a void, actually mean? To fill a void. This is such a great idiom to know. It means trying to use things on the outside, like parties or shopping, or in Diego's case, drugs and alcohol, to stop that feeling of emptiness or loneliness inside. He was basically trying to plug up an emotional hole with stuff from the outside world. Makes sense, right? So that whole rock bottom moment was what kicked off Diego's change. But here's what's really interesting. He now believes you don't actually need a huge crisis like that to start healing. So, Mel brings up this really common idea. You've probably heard it, that you have to suffer a lot before you can change. But Diego, he has a totally different take on it, and he explains it perfectly in this next quote. Okay, listen closely to this one. This sentence has two super powerful and opposite phrasal verbs that are absolutely key to what he's saying: to face emotions and to run away from. All right, let's break these down. To face your emotions, that just means you stop and you actually let yourself feel what you're feeling, even when it's uncomfortable. And the opposite, to run away from something, which is, you guessed it, to avoid it. So Diego's whole point is that real healing begins the moment you stop running and finally start facing what's inside. Okay, so if healing is all about facing our emotions, how do we actually do that? Good question. Let's dig into the practical steps for creating inner peace, even when the world around us is totally chaotic. Here's a really powerful idea from Diego. Peace isn't something that just happens to you. It's not passive. No, it's something you have to actively create. And he explains exactly how to do that in this next statement. Now, pay really close attention to the verbs he uses here: reacting to it and reinforcing it. See, Diego's making a super subtle but really important distinction. The idea is that you can feel an emotion without letting it take over and control what you do. So this really breaks down into a simple two-step process. Step one, you just acknowledge the feeling. You feel the anger, the sadness, whatever it is, without judging yourself. But the key, the real magic, is in step two. You choose not to reinforce it. What's that mean? It means you don't feed the fire. You don't fuel the anger with more angry thoughts. You just feel it, and then you let it pass without letting it drive the bus. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about another huge part of life: our relationships. How does all this inner work, this facing your emotions stuff, how does it connect to the way we love and connect with other people? Diego makes such a crucial distinction here. He talks about people-pleasing versus true compassion. People-pleasing, he says, it comes from fear. You say yes to everyone else, but you end up creating total chaos for yourself. True compassion, on the other hand, is about being there for others while still, and this is key, honoring your own needs and boundaries. Okay, this final quote we're looking at is just packed with great natural language. He uses a common slang phrase, a total lie, and this really fantastic idiom, shines a mirror on. A total lie. You'll hear this all the time. It's a really common, informal way to just say something is completely 100% untrue. And that idiom shines a mirror on something, it means it reveals the truth about that thing, both the good and the bad parts. So what he's saying is, a good relationship actually shows you the parts of yourself that still need some work. All right, let's start to wrap this up and do a quick review of all the fantastic wisdom and, of course, the vocabulary we've pulled from this conversation. Just look at all this great vocabulary you've got in your toolkit now. We talked about how people fill a void or run away from their emotions and why it's so much better to face them instead. You also know what it means not to reinforce a feeling, how to call something a total lie, and how relationships can shine a mirror on us. That's a lot. And beyond just the words, these are the big ideas from their chat. Real healing comes from facing things, not running from them. Peace is an active choice you make every day. And good relationships, well, they're a journey of growth, not some perfect, easy destination. Okay, now it is over to you. It's your turn to make this vocabulary your own. So I have a question for you. What's one new phrase from today that you are going to try to use this week? Seriously, putting this language into practice is the absolute best way to make it stick. Hey, if you enjoyed breaking this down with me and you want to master more real spoken English, do me a favor. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I can't wait to see you in the next Real Talk English Explainer.